You gonna start?
All right, yeah, we started. Be patient, man. Be patient.
Bro,
All
I've
right,
been,
ladies and
I've been
gentlemen.
dealing with kids all day, bro. I'm not. My patience is gone.
That's sad. I'm sorry.
I'm
I'm,
coaching basketball, so
anyway,
I mean, at least he knows when to use it.
facts.
apparently. All right. Damn, I hate y'all. I hate when this happens. Now I don't remember how to do the intro. Give me a second.
You hitting that J?
You said what?
You hitting that J?
I childish. All right, welcome to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew. Let's go ahead and get into this. Wait, never mind. Y'all can introduce yourselves, I guess.
What's up, y'all? I'm Calvin McGowan. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say. I watch basketball, and I have thoughts, and I have thoughts. That's all I got.
What's going on, y'all? This is Philip Dixon, aka Mr. Egg Benedict. You know what I mean? So let's get it.
Nobody knows what you mean.
That's stressful. Anyway, before we started this, we were talking about
Oh my god.
the most All-American teams we've ever seen in the NCAA who have been serious threats to win the championship. We started off talking about Gonzaga, who looks amazing this year. We're talking about Jalen Suggs, the freshman that already looks like an NBA player physically, taking all type of contact. His first bucket was an alley-oop dunk on Marcus Garrett. You know that, right?
I saw him.
Like, weren't they considering Marcus Garrett like one of the best perimeter defenders? Like last year.
He is in college basketball.
So that is just like a crazy like first opening bucket. Like just like, the symbolism of it is amazing. And then just like the stuff that he's doing in transition and like just not being able to get stopped at the rim with Kansas being so physically strong. But yeah, it's really what is it? Corey Crispert?
I think it's Kispert. I think that's how it's
Kispert?
Yes.
And Drew Timme, the real faces of Gonzaga. And we're just comparing them to the 2011 Duke Blue Devils, who give me the same vibe when their best players like Nolan Smith and Kyle Singler.
Yeah. And the Plumlees, Mason and Miles, with the Seth Curry there as well. And Seth Curry's so light skinned, I ain't gonna say it, but you know, very all-American, as you say. Like if you hate a Duke team, this 2011 Kyle Singler team is like the reason you hate Duke teams. You know what I mean? Because
depending on how old you are.
Depending on how old you are, but like, you know, people of our age group, right? 2011 is like what? 2011 I was a junior in high school. So like old enough to be paying attention to that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? So I mean, I don't know. It's like when I was playing at Fisk, right? And we would play against a white team. Like when we played against a black team, we would just, you know, we go out there and hey, you know, like any typical game, you do it, whatever, right? And then we would go out there and play like a white school, whatever, with like one black kid or like no black kids, whatever, an all white team. And we go out there and, you know, you have certain dudes on the team being like, no, we about to whoop them. We about to whoop these white boys. Woo! You know, they getting hyped about whooping these white boys. And then the white boys play so fundamental and whoop us, which happened a lot. Like it happened like way too much, and it's so demeaning. Like it really, like you really feel because you more, you know, in warm ups you over here doing, you know, the DeMar DeRozan 360 layups, and you over here doing the between the leg dunks and all kind of stuff, and they just spot up shoot, one dribble, right hand, spot up shoot. You know, it's basic fundamentals. All of a sudden you get out there, all the flair and all don't even matter. Don't even matter. And I will tell you right now, as a person who played basketball for their whole life on a lot of black teams, getting beat by an all-white team is one of the most hurtful. It hurts you on the inside. Like getting beat by an all-white team really hurts your inside because, like, man, this is America. You've been watching basketball your whole life. You know, the best basketball players in the world are just black. You know, excuse me, most of college players are black. and all of a sudden you like, you just follow in line with like a mindset that came before you and has been there for a long time, and then it just hurts, man. It just really, really hurts. And so for a lot of people, that exact same mindset correlates to how they feel about Duke as well, in terms of like the whiteness of basketball, I guess, if you want to word it like that. And even though Duke has had really good players, they're still more adamantly like, even though they won a national championship with what's his name, who went to Minnesota, the point guard Tyrus, and then he who what's his, I'm losing having a mind fart. Say it again. Tyus Jones and Jahlil Okafor, right? They national championship, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, Duke known for JJ Redick, Grayson Allen, and Christian Laettner. You know what I mean? They're known for those players. For whatever reason, Coach K had a lot of good black players, but for whatever reason, they're known for those players. And so when it comes to Duke, that same like whiteness mindset of basketball fits into that situation to a T. And I think that same situation hasn't been the case for Gonzaga, because Gonzaga is always like on the cusp of winning the national championship, but like rarely wins the national championship. But like now, since they've been so good for so long and they continue to be as good with a bunch of white players, it's gonna. I foresee that exact same thing happening to Gonzaga that has been the case for Duke.
All right, so one, like Phil said, be a lesson to everybody. You go into a game arrogant, you're gonna get your feelings hurt. Two, I think the thing with Duke and like those players that JJ Redick and Leitner and Grayson Allen and them is like, it's not just they're white players necessarily, but they adhere to I guess some sort of preconceived notion in our mind of what a person who goes to Duke would look like, and the kind of image that they would project, kind of a preppy white dude and whatever. And they're also good at basketball, much as like basically no one on planet Earth wants to admit it who's not a Duke fan. And so like they go and like they hit up your team for like 20, you're going to remember that and you're going to despise them off that alone. So, but I'm honestly not sure it's gonna be a thing with Gonzaga though. It might. It wouldn't surprise me, but like a lot of Gonzaga's, like a lot of their more recent success, it's not like it's been a team full of just like white players like that.
I'm not gonna lie to you. For a long time. Wait, for
a long time, yeah.
For a long time, like, in my mind, shoot, Kelly Olynyk. You know what I mean? Like,
you're in Spokane, Washington.
Yeah, ain't no brothers out there.
Not even so much. There's none there. It's like, have you ever heard of Gonzaga until like recently?
I mean, I couldn't until just now. I couldn't tell you where Gonzaga was.
Like I had no idea that Gonzaga was even an option until like 2014 when they like popped up in NCAA tournament.
Like, I don't know.
They've been like historically good, but I didn't know.
But they've had that notion of like being, not that notion. They've had that stigma, I guess, of being good in like a pretty much mid-major conference. You know what I mean? So they have, so like they've been tainted a bit. But in the last 3 years, that like has gone away. So like no one's giving them that excuse anymore. And that's why I see them be going in the same direction as like a Duke, because of the direction their university in itself has gone in terms of their basketball, integrity, I guess.
Yeah. So, I feel like they would have to win for like at least another 10 to 15 years for that to actually set in for people.
Man,
like get a whole generation where it's like removed from the fact that they remembered what.
For our generation, that's already been the case.
But the thing is, like when I started paying attention to Gonzaga, right? And this is randomly. This is I think because like Hashimura showed up, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. They got a player from Japan. And he's like, oh, he's black. Okay. But like also like the team was good, and like they had enough, and the in that whole stigma of like being in that mid-major conference is why like they schedule their non-con like they do.
Yeah.
That stuff is brutal. Like what they just got done playing what 2 ranked team, and they got the number 2 team in the country on Saturday. Like it's not so much they no longer have that. It's that like they've gotten to a point where like those big teams are willing to schedule them. And because those big teams are willing to schedule them, people are going to come and watch those games because there are Kansas fans, there are Baylor fans, there are Wisconsin fans, like fans of those big name of those like more big name teams, and like you're going to remember like a lot of people remember Gonzaga because they're good and they probably beat your favorite team at some point or another in the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember my point anymore, but like
Tommy just went on for a rant.
there was a point. I don't remember how to tie it back and whatever it was we were talking about. I forgot.
Gonzaga.
Yeah. You was talking about
And,
Gonzaga the whole time, so.
But like so, because like the thing is that they weren't scheduling like they schedule, like the it's not like the perception of them would still be the same, right? They'd just be like, oh, you just beat up on like your crappy little conference or whatever.
Yeah.
Like make sure to schedule tough as hell in the non-conference so that people can't just be like can't like say that. You can't discount the fact that they ran through their conference for like the last decade,
Yeah.
right?
Wait,
because it
owned it.
The Japanese dudes, when you started paying attention to Gonzaga,
mm-hmm.
the Japanese,
what about him?
When you started paying attention to Gonzaga,
Mm-hmm.
wasn't it like 2 years ago?
No, so he was in last year's draft. He was a freshman. Like
Okay.
I just ran across his thing or whatever. I don't remember how.
Yeah, because I remember Gonzaga from Kelly Olynyk. That's when I started paying attention to Gonzaga, and I don't even know what year that was, to tell you the truth.
That was before then. That was before me.
Yeah, I think that was like 2013.
Yeah, he's been in the league for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But Gonzaga has made they're not because they're not a Butler, right? They're not a Wichita State. They're not a person that's like good, but like they had like a crazy 2-year surge. They're above that in a sense, to where that surge has just been incredibly long for a more of a mid-major division school, right? So now they're taking those steps to not just be, and they have been taking those steps to not just be in that same category as those schools, but to be up there with the Kansases and I like in the Dukes and the North Carolinas and things like that. So,
I mean, you're gonna get the opportunity to be up there when like you make a national championship game, and most of those players stick around the year after.
But like they were kind of up there beforehand, and I don't see that changing. Because like Butler was up there for like 2 years, and that's like it, and they could have pulled a Butler, but they haven't, and I don't see that happening at all, honestly. From in the trajectory that they're going.
Fairness, I'm pretty sure Butler is tended to remain good, but like unlike Butler, though, is like Gonzaga's had the same coach since like the 90s. Like Mark Hughes been there basically our entire lives.
But like Butler stayed good, but like Butler only had 2 years of elite, like truly elite, and they got lucky to be there. Gordon Hayward, whatever, but Gonzaga has like constantly, or Gonzaga will consistently be on that level, especially if they keep recruiting the way they're recruiting.
That's fair, but like I'm saying though, like the thing about Butler is like Butler will get good coaches, right? And then some other like high major team with like, one of the name brand teams, what have you, will just come and be like, hey, here's a bunch of money, coach us. And, dudes leave. And like you gotta go and find someone else. And it's hard to remain good like that, or like at that. I don't make argument. It's hard to remain at that level if you don't have that consistency at coach. Like dudes that go to Gonzaga want to get coached by Marquis. Like if they didn't, they would simply go somewhere else. It's not about the brand, like a Gonzaga brand necessarily, though. Like they kind of have one at this point, but like it's because of that dudes go to Gonzaga because of the coach, and because he it consistently makes good teams, and they're gonna get to constantly play the best teams in the country.
Yeah, you're right. Can I say this though?
Mm-hmm.
This isn't about Gonzaga, so this might be a switch. And tell me if you agree. That's not won't be. This is not might not be. It will definitely be a switch. Tell me if you agree or disagree. Coach Calipari won't win a championship again. And it's because he has lost the luster of the one and done coming here and being prepared to go to, the NBA for that one season. That is like that aura about him, 2012, 13, 14, 15 possibly, that's gone. And other teams have caught up in terms of recruiting tactics and understanding what makes the player of today click. He was the first one, but others seem to have picked up the baton that he accidentally dropped.
John Calipari in Kentucky has stayed a consistent top 3 recruiting class like since they started all this in like 2012. I just don't know if we're looking at the same caliber, because he's still doing like almost enough to get platoon systems like year after year after year, and they stay longer. I think who is coming to recruit, I think that's like a different type of dude. Like you'll look at recruiting like stats and rankings from like the last 10 years pretty much. He's still getting those top 10 guys. It's just like you're noticing more of them have to stay. Like I almost think he's like less of the dudes who know they're one and done. Like John Wall already knew. Like John Wall almost did not need to go to college to be considered a high level draft pick. And I feel like the people who are considered high level draft picks, they don't got to go there because they don't have to learn how to listen.
So when did the drop off happen then? Because you could make an argument.
I think it happened in like 2017.
You could make an argument that the drop off, right? The drop off happened with the Harrison twins.
Well, like that was the first time.
The Harrison twins were the first people besides Terrence Jones that stayed for a significant amount of time, being more than 1 year. After once this whole like platoon type of recruiting started happening when he was at Kentucky.
He did run that first like platoon system or whatever they were calling it with the Harrison twins, and like Booker and Ulyss. Wasn't Cat on one of those teams?
Yeah, Cat was like 2015, 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
so
I think what happened, just like y'all are saying a little bit, like to some degree, teams caught up, but not just Team Duke mainly caught up. And like, because like the thing is, even as we say, like, he might have lost some of that, or he's recruiting, slightly different dudes who might stay longer. Like, the thing is, I guess while we're talking about recruiting specifically, it's still, like we said, they've still been very, very good pretty much the entire time.
Yeah.
So, and I think, And like even then, like a lot of his most successful team had dudes that stayed like like into their sophomore year, or like had a junior or two on the team, even if they weren't necessarily the starters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the only reason I said the Harrisons though is because of that staying more than 1 year and being a high level draft pick, or not high level draft pick, a high level recruit coming out of high school, and then because before then he was, like it was like everybody one and done, and like I would say, but in like players like Willie Cauley-Stein in 2012 stayed for like 3 years, right? Like 3 or 4 years, whatever. But at no point was he on the same level of recruitment as the Harrison twins. So, like I just think the tiers are different.
Yeah.
Once that upper tier started to stay a little longer, then it was like, oh, what's happening here? And then other people started getting number one recruits, and other people started getting, and I mean, granted, I think the decision making of some other kids made that happen also. And you could say Ben Simmons helped with that launching point of just like literally just disregarding Kentucky. Like no matter what, like he was like, I'm going to LSU. He disregarded Kentucky. Like, and he what was that, 2014, 2013, 2014, whatever it was?
Nah.
Um,
Yeah, I think you're right. No, I think he might be a 2015 kid. Let me check.
Like the thing about him though is like didn't like LSU like hire a relative of his, like put a relative of his on the staff or something?
yeah, he had connect to the coaching staff, but still it was just like a disregard, right? Because he was a notable player that like, you would think would go to Kentucky as like a number one, number two player, whatever it is. He just said no. Like he just really just said no.
But it was never in the, like Calvin was saying, it was never in the cards for him. Like even as like a junior or sophomore, like he had family there. Like
Yeah,
everybody.
but even with all the other outside, I don't want to say influences, outside situations that he didn't go to Kentucky, he still didn't go to Kentucky. And so like I think that had like a a big aspect on it, because Michael Porter Jr. can say the same thing with, like there are a lot of high level recruits that went other places. And yeah, they still have people like De'Aaron Fox and whatever, but by the time you got to De'Aaron Fox, it was commonplace for a lot of the top recruits to not go to Kentucky.
Yeah, but like the only other place they're really going is like Duke though, and like some of it, I think like it's like at a certain point, like kids start making decisions, and those decisions influence other kids' decisions.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, but like that. But at
if
one
Kentucky
point,
already has the best point guard in the country headed their way, and you are number two, why would you want to go to Kentucky?
Hey, what are y'all talking about?
Was De'Aaron Fox number?
I don't know. I'm just a hypothetical. But,
Yeah. Hey, Philip, on this one, go look through two things. Your logic gives Calipari a 2-year run where he's just the dude at Kentucky when it comes to recruiting, and that is far from like true, because you're giving him 2010, 2011, 2012. But if we're still talking about,
I'm not saying that. No. I'm not saying that, because he had Pat 2012 because he had, let's see, he had the Karl Anthony Towns year. He had the Devin Booker year. Is that the same year?
Yeah.
The same year. The Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the year after that, he had. What was the year after that? Wait, I mean, I don't have it in front of me, so I can't really tell you. But it was definitely more than that stretch. Like I'm not saying it was less than that stretch. I'm just saying like throughout those stretches, you start to see a little, because even when they were, because like even like early on, like it was like even the way people talked about Calipari and talked about Kentucky were just different, because he was just scooping up the best and the number one recruits and all kind of stuff. Like the way he was presented was it was just different. Like, but you were there. you have to kind of be there to see, kind of feel that energy, right? But then I would say in the last 4 years, 3 years, that energy just hasn't been the same. And you can kind of just and this is literally like the last like 3 years. So I'm not saying I didn't give him a 2 year span. I really gave him like an 8 year span, really. You know what I mean? Not like.
So how can 2012 be the year? My bad. I feel like
I'm only using
being
2012
picky at
because
like that detail there.
I mean I'm only using 2012 because of Anthony Davis. That was 2012, right? Or yeah.
No, Anthony Davis was like 2011.
Man, you said that as if I was way off.
Yeah,
I was like, hold on. I thought it was.
You're saying his recruiting. What you said was like the recruiting peak thing. My bad. I think I'm getting bogged down in details, but like,
yeah.
nah, man, he was getting like top 5 recruits up until like literally like the drop off is 2017. That's when it's
2020. That falls in line with what I said. I said the last 3 years.
I know. At the end, I'm not arguing with you.
No need. But yeah, all I'm saying is the aura of what Kyler Perry was. It's not the same as what it is now. So that's as simplistic as I can make that argument.
No, I completely agree with you on that one. That brotherhood finally falling apart. I love it. Yeah, everyone. Come back to Kansas. Yeah.
I mean, Bill Self doesn't have a great track record with one and dones either. So
I'm not worried about that. I just want to have a really good roster. That's what I'm here for.
Look, if you want to be a strong 4-year player, come to Kansas.
Yeah.
Like if you look at Josh Jackson, look at Josh Selby, Kelly Oubre came here and did his own thing, but also you can make the exact same thing about Cliff Alexander. Like, you know what I mean? Like Bill Self's one and done track, Xavier Henry, it's not good. Like it is very bad in terms of like succeeding in the NBA. It's not fantastic.
Lily, your college coach's job is to get you to become the number 1 pick. It is not for you to make sure your career is a success. That's not his job.
He ain't great at that either.
That's not his fault.
He's not great at that either. That's his
bad human.
First of all, I don't technically agree with that statement because I think your job as a college coach differs depending on what college you're at.
Yeah.
In University of Kansas, Bill Self's job is to win a national championship. That's his job. He's won one. So like he hasn't even done good in that aspect. He wins a lot of games. Yes, 100%. He wins a lot of games. But he's won one national championship. And look, when I was in Florence, they're still playing the tape from the 2008 NBA Finals, Jesus, of the championship game in the Walmart like it happened yesterday. Like in terms of that, it's still like okay, whatever. Like we want national championships. He's had teams that were good enough to win national championships. He's happened to run into some juggernauts. Unfortunately, well, I'm saying juggernauts. He lost to Stanford with Andrew Wiggins, and he lost to Oregon that 1 year with Josh Jackson, and then he lost to who was it that he lost to? He lost to a multitude of people. So you can make an argument that he hasn't held himself up to the greatest of standards, Bill Self-wise, when it comes to his job as a college basketball coach. So yeah, you could make the argument, honestly, but you know.
Sir,
that's an argument.
That is a terrible argument. Like I get the whole thing. Like, well, first off, I'd just like to say that while you're right to some extent, at the end of the day, the ultimate job of all college basketball coaches is basically the same: to win games and then ideally win a championship. All right, Bill Self, he only has one,
Yes.
correct? All right, yeah, that's still better than like basically every other coach, except for like K, Williams?
Yeah.
Buddy at Villanova.
Like basically, there are only a handful of coaches that have won more than one at all. All right, and like and like the thing is, there'll be people who complain like this and say like he's done a terrible job because we don't have enough rings. But like, who's gonna do a better job? Because that tournament is a super fickle thing. One
Okay.
game and it's over.
So
One
question.
game and it's over. Yes, sir.
So question.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had to ask you, what is okay, so let's not pretend like all coaches are created, or not all schools in terms of basketball, royalty, right, are created equally.
Right.
Let's not even pretend like that's even a question.
Okay.
If you're talking about college basketball and the coaches in college basketball, there are certain ones that are put on a pedestal above the others. They just are, right? And with Bill Self being at the University of Kansas, especially for how long he's been there, he has put himself on like the top tier, the S-class tier of college coaches. If you're on that tier, if you're Roy Williams, if you're Coach K, if you're Bill Self, it is championship or bust for you. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on your perspective, that is that. But that is a reality. And there's not many people up there, right? Who would you say is up there? Duke, North Carolina, in terms of basketball, UCLA.
That fan base is delusional right now, but
I know, but like in terms of just like school, right?
Right.
But UCLA also doesn't have the coach with the tenure of somebody with Bill Self, right? As Bill Self at Kansas. So if you're looking at people with tenure at a school who is also top tier, you're only looking at a select, like a very, 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 very few people. And it might be only Coach K, Roy Williams, and Bill Self. Like, it might be just those three who are on the top level.
Izzo.
Coach, say it again?
Tom Izzo, Michigan State.
Oh, Tom Izzo, too. My bad. Hold on. Tom Izzo's one for sure. And Tom Izzo, how many national championships he has? How many? I can't figure out.
He's got one, I'm pretty sure.
He's got one.
Yeah. Like, here's the thing: a lot of those dudes with the tenure like that, they have a lot of wins, but they don't have a whole lot of hardware because the hardware that we're talking about is very, very hard to get.
Okay, I'm trying to find how many national championships he has. All right, so he has a national championship in one. He has one in 2000.
Yeah, I'm saying he's got one.
He got one 2000. So I theoretically you could make the same argument about Tom Izzo too. Like, you could. And Tom Izzo's been at Michigan State longer than Bill Self has been at KU. This is a small list of championship or bust people, and he fortunately put himself in that position. That's a good thing to put yourself in the position. But once you're in the position, what happens? And he has, in the tournament, he's just been underwhelming for a significant amount of time.
What are we defining as underwhelming?
Say it again?
What are we defining as underwhelming? Is it just like he didn't win the title that year? Like, is that the only definition of this for our argument?
So like sometimes, recruiting classes, it depends on recruiting classes, all kind of stuff. But he's had recruiting classes to when he should have won a championship. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts that. There were no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And it's known. He should have won championships. He had opportunities to win championships with championship level teams. Say it again?
Talent don't win you championships every time.
You're right. It don't win championships every time. But he's had enough times to where he had opportunities to win it. And for some reason, he has come up short every time.
Bro, all that has to happen is you get unlucky. Somebody
Yeah.
gets hurt, a shot goes down that like shouldn't have, and like that's it. That's your season. That's your try at it.
And that can't be underwhelming when you should have won.
I'm not saying it's not underwhelming, but it's
And
just
that
like
No. What is your definition of underwhelming? If we're
if
going
for
like,
these
on that
four
part,
for
like,
these four coaches that we named right now, underwhelming is not winning a championship. For those four coaches, you could make a different argument for other coaches, but for those four coaches, it is winning. What is a championship or bust? That's what it is. And Tom Izzo, honestly, hasn't had phenomenal recruiting classes. He's had good recruiting classes in the last 20. How long has he been at University of Michigan? He's been in Michigan for 25 years, since 1995. He's had fine recruiting classes for most of that.
yeah,
Like he's had fine, right?
his recruiting classes got crazy over the past like.
oh
5
Jay Wright,
I can give
Jay
you
Wright,
Yeah, right. Like
like, Jay Wright. He's got multiple titles.
For
Yeah, he got the
Villanova.
back at Villanova.
Oh, yeah, right. But Villanova has won, and Allen's a Kansas fan. You know, off the top of your head, immediately, at least 4 years to where he should have won a championship. And the reason they didn't win a championship was no unlucky. It was nothing unlucky about it. They should have won.
What are the years where he should have won?
Andrew Wiggins year.
The one where Joel Embiid's back was broken?
That doesn't even matter because they were killing without him.
Their starting center's back was broken?
They were killing. First of all, they were killing. No. If you're gonna use that argument, that is the argument of somebody. And I know this isn't even you. That is the argument of somebody who went back and looked at the rosters of that year but didn't actually watch the games. I know you watched the games. Andrew Wiggins was wilding, but Andrew Wiggins scored like 5 points in the game in that game against Stanford. He scored nothing against Stanford. That's all coaching, preparation. That's all putting your player in the right spots because he only took 7 shots that game. That's putting in the position to win. But
here's the thing. You're right. Coaches put players in positions to win and be successful. But if memory serves, one of the criticisms with Wiggins was like he would disappear. Like he would have games where he just didn't show up. And like as a coach, while it is your job to like do everything you can to get your players to perform, like at the end of the day, you can't take the shots, you can't make the shots, you can't play the defense, you can't grab the rebounds, you can't get the steal. And so if that is just a thing Wiggins dealt with and like where like he would just not show up, you can do everything you can to like try and mitigate that. And like if he's having a night where he doesn't show up, you have to game plan around that. But it is not necessarily your fault that your best player, when he got touches, did not take those shots.
And your second best player, which is Joel Embiid, who was your backup player to get the points, has a broken back.
Okay. I'm going to disregard the Embiid thing because watching that whole entire season, they were cooking without him. So, like, it's fine. They're cooking against good teams without him, too. In the game before, it was like a few games before, Andrew Wiggins dropped 45 on West Virginia. Boom, 45, and then dropped like 5 points, whatever it was, against Stanford. So, like, that's one team. That's one team. The Ben McLemore year, when Trey Burke hit that bonkers shot, that falls in line with the lucky and that's all process, right? Like that falls in line with that process. So I can kind of see that when it comes along with that. Because that was, I don't think I've been that upset since, to tell you the truth. But they had the Frank Mason's last season with Frank Mason, Devontae Graham. Last season they should have won that year, and they got beat. Who did they get beat by? They got beat by Oregon because that was Josh Jackson's one and done year. That was Josh Jackson's one and done year.
I think that was 2018 because he came out in that crazy little draft. Yeah.
Yeah, that was Josh Jackson's. And you can say whatever you want about Josh Jackson in the league, but Josh Jackson was killing in college. You know what I mean? Like you can say whatever. No, you can't say whatever about him in the league because you definitely can't say he's good. But like he's in college, he was killing. Like he was really, really killing these dudes. So that's 3 years right there. I'm trying to get top of my head.
Oh, they got the crap beat out of them in the Final Four against Villanova.
What year?
This is that year he was talking about. The 2017-18 season.
But Villanova was also a juggernaut that year. Like they could not lose. Like that's a really Villanova was supposed to beat us. Like I'm pretty sure if you look up the whatever the Vegas betting things is, Villanova. That's so funny that y'all both scratched their heads at the same time.
Weird.
But Villanova was supposed to beat us.
We over here that you were seeing those NBA videos of people doing the same for the same time. That's what that was. But I mean, look, you can go through. I just don't have the rosters in front of me at what years, all kind of stuff. But I guarantee I can find more years in the last 15 years that should have been the case for. You know what I mean? And you can in the one championship that he did win, he won off of that lucky shot. So or
look. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
You're right. But Duke went and Duke lost to Lehigh, right? It's like the first round or something like that. Duke came back and won a couple years later. You know what I mean? Like Duke came back and won a couple years later. North Carolina, Roy Williams has 3 championships. Bill Self just got 1. And he's up and he put himself in that top tier of coach. So it is what it is.
Okay.
He's won a lot of regional games. He's won a lot of games playing against K-State. He's won a lot of games playing against Baylor, who was not even a threat until the last 8 years. You know what I mean? He won a lot of games playing against Iowa State. He won a lot of games playing against MU back in the day. But once he started playing teams outside of that area, outside of the Big 12, yeah.
You trying to make me look at Bill Self funny, and I refuse. That's my coach, son.
Here's my thing, right? Because you can two things. One, there was this quote in Sports Illustrated. It was an article about dang it, what's that dude's name?
Robin Williams.
Plays for Charlotte. Played at Michigan State.
Miles
Bridges. And one of the things that they said that Izzo had told him, because dudes will come back, try and win championships and all that.
Yeah.
So Izzo told him, look, if you're coming back just to try and win a championship, leave, because too much has to go right. At the end of the day, with it, a lot of stuff has to go right. You have to get good matchups. People have to stay healthy. Occasionally you just get lucky. A team will just get lucky.
No wonder he won one talking to kids like that. He's tripping.
It's the reality of the situation, though.
Help me out.
Right? There are a lot of teams that were supposed to win, that were expected to win their tournament that year, that didn't. Because the tournament, you get one shot to beat a team. All right? You only have to mess up once.
Yeah. That system is not built for winning.
Shouts to Jay Wright for doing it multiple times and Coach K and them, but that is a wildly difficult task to do it more than once at all.
Well,
here's my thing. Here's my thing. If you want to say Bill Self underperformed, right? And you are entitled to your opinion. I think that people tend to have unrealistic expectations of these things, but you're entitled to your opinion, right? Who could you actually get to do a better job at Kansas? Like, who could you actually get who would do a better job and win those titles that you say they should have won?
You
Shoot,
give me
I don't
$10 million,
know.
I can do better than Bill
Exactly.
Self.
That's the thing.
Man, I don't
It's
know,
like,
but I'm also not in the hiring process. If I don't hire process, I find somebody.
Okay, then hush up.
and then your team would be trash for years, and y'all would cycle through like 3 coaches in 4 years, and you'd be UCLA because who've been like mediocre for like the last 10 years.
Hey, his joint gonna look like
Oh no,
FAMU's
hold on.
coaching carousel when we first got there. Somebody played 5 games. It's like, we need another coach. I'm like, why?
Hold on.
They
They
don't
ain't
even
been
know the offense
mediocre.
yet.
They've been that mediocre. They had those Lonzo. They had that Lonzo Ball year.
Haven't had nothing since.
And they had much before.
I
Like
know.
they had Lonzo. Before Lonzo, they had what? Kevin Love and Russell Westbrook.
Oh, shit, don't do my man Shabazz like that. Shabazz Muhammad was there for a year.
Okay,
They didn't
was
do
like,
well,
You
but he
just
was
say
there.
don't do
anything.
your man Shabazz, who was 24, trying to be 18-year-old. Like Shabazz over
I
here.
don't know what we
That's
get.
your man's. That's
Look,
your man. Like you want to hang your hat on Shabazz.
Listen to me. When I was watching Shabazz play in what was it, 2012? Was it?
No, it was before that.
It was before 2012?
Yeah.
Okay, so I was like 14. Shabazz Muhammad was a god to me. That dude was 6'8" and could do everything. He was super athletic. I was like, sign me up.
Oh, that was when you. That was like when you were too young to realize that a left-hand person had no right, and like you didn't like he had no right hand. Like he could have no right hand. That's why when he went to the league, he couldn't do nothing because he had no right hand, and he's not James Harden. He barely Michael Beasley. You know, or not barely.
Oh yeah, that's
He's
just
definitely not Michael Beasley. You know what I mean? Like yeah, you were too young to appreciate the flaws of Shabazz Muhammad. But you know, we all have those players growing up. He just what'd you say?
I could have swore up and down there was no way Nerlens Noel was better than him that year.
First of all, sure. let's never forget Calipari Orleans Noel's year. Let's never forget that.
You said what?
Let's never forget that Calipari Noel's year. That year was.
They didn't do well because Noel got hurt early.
They didn't make it to the.
I thought he got.
No, he played the whole season.
Yeah. Oh well, he got hurt, and like they didn't make it into the tournament. They lost in the NIT.
Oh no, he got hurt in the NIT. I think he got hurt in that game.
No, he got before the NIT.
He played the entire season. He was just a boo.
Nah, he got hurt before the NIT. I remember that.
Oh my gosh, I remember people like he stopped people wanting to have flat tops and playing. People have flat tops, go out there. Noel stopped that. They said, "Oh no, we good." They cut that thing off real quick. That was nuts. Yeah, that was a bad year.
Yeah, he tore his ACL against the Gators in February of that year.
Oh, I do remember that. He did tear his ACL. Because he had to take his first season off the I forgot about that. Yeah. Got sad. Real quick.
How we gonna end the podcast on a sad note unless y'all got something else?
What was it? I didn't want to cover a couple things. So McCord Maker is currently out with like a groin injury that was apparently bothering him for the first Howard's first 2 games. Like I'm just like, I guess y'all have no thoughts. Like he actually looked pretty solid. Like his numbers don't really show it because like he didn't really get enough touches in places where he could really be effective, and like there were possessions where like they just didn't pass him the ball for reasons God only knows. But like they don't look like a total dumpster fire. Well, if they can fix the rebounding, they will not be a total dumpster fire. Like his teammates look like they can get to the point where they can play a little bit, like they've showed a little. But like if they don't fix that rebounding, it's gonna be a long year, with or without it.
Is Howard coming out the MEAC this year?
If they don't fix the rebounding, no, not at all. No, like here's the thing: I don't think I remember watching folks literally watch as the rebound hits the floor and like not going to get it.
I
Like it's a
I coach my kids to do that.
you
In
are
the eighth
terrible
grade
coaches
though.
to do that mess,
In the
but
eighth grade
no,
though.
like they don't really box. It was and it's like it's a team wide thing. Like they don't really box out. They don't hustle to the rebound, and like it hurt them a lot as a team, both with him and without him. Um, it's like you can't just like let dudes come and keep getting offensive rebounds. You can't win games like that. But Maker himself looked pretty solid. It'd be better if he got more touches. I think they should put him in the high post because then it gives him the option to do all the things he probably wants to do anyway. And like, it should be an easier pass to make than trying to get it to him in the post. But also the point guard has tunnel vision. So
Let me see.
uh,
Winning.
It happens, yeah.
what Memphis is playing very selfish offensively. They lost games they didn't have to lose. They got utterly destroyed by Charles Bazzi. What was it? I think 25 points, 14 rebounds, and like 7 blocks. I think that's what I said. Yeah, it was something like that. It was some
Funny.
outlandish stuff. Like, um, but like that selfish play offensively not gonna win some games. Like I mentioned, Bazzi is a problem, of course. Bam played Georgia. Georgia didn't really, at least like what?
Philip being stupid. Keep going. Yeah.
Um, but like Georgia, like Fam looked like they'll be pretty good. Georgia is they're gonna get destroyed by Kentucky and Tennessee and Florida and probably Alabama. Oh, and LSU. I forgot about LSU. Like it's gonna be a long year for Georgia. Um, it it'll be a much better year for Fam. Um, let's see. Is there anything else?
Oh, I had something. I meant to mention this last week,
Hmm.
but I just remembered. Don't be surprised if injuries go up in the NBA this year because of how quick this turnaround was from season to season. I get they're trying to adjust or readjust, I guess, for the future seasons to get it back to where it should be. But the turnaround's so quick this year that I would not be surprised if there was an abundance of unfortunate, I should say, injuries when it comes to NBA players.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. Um, something I mentioned to Alan. Well, actually, a couple things. Well, first, something I mentioned to Alan was I felt like Fam's best player, MJ Randolph, plays like Jimmy Butler, like stylistically. Um, but I say that to segue because I thought about it and what they're doing, like what Miami has going on, is what Philly should be trying to do. Like as long as they're trying to keep their two best players.
Yeah.
Granted, like it's not 1-to-1, but it's around two players who don't shoot with shooters. Like wild concept. Also, Marc Gasol signed a deal with signed a contract with the Lakers.
Boo, should have kept Howard.
Didn't I thought Howard left though? Like he signed a contract with Charlotte or something.
So
Philadelphia.
All right, thank you, Philadelphia.
still need the Lakers to look bad.
How does that make the Lakers look bad?
I don't know.
Lakers aren't going back to back. I'll say that right now.
Okay, why not?
I genuinely, this is gonna sound, I don't know, this might sound nuts. I genuinely believe losing JaVale McGee did a lot. He for his job, he did a lot for that team for his job. I also think long term, they should not have let Avery Bradley go. I think the only reason they were successful, like the bubble was the reason that it was easy it was for them to get to NBA Finals. Like it is what it is. Some players get fueled off the crowd energy and all kind of stuff. Not everybody has that dog in them. We already talked about that. But Avery Bradley, once the crowd comes, you're gonna need somebody like that on defense to go against the other team's guards. I'm surprised they did nothing with Kyle Kuzma, to tell you the truth. I am surprised that was the case. But I'm definitely one of the biggest reasons they won't win is because Rondo's gone.
Yeah.
Rondo being gone does a lot. Like, if Rondo's not there last year, they don't win. Like, they don't win if Rondo's not there. When Rondo wasn't playing, you saw how they played. Or I mean, he was hurt. You saw how they played. He comes back. Once again, you saw how they played. Rondo was an engine for that team that they didn't have, right? They had LeBron, they had AD, but Rondo was out there destroying, doing Rondo type things. And Rondo type things are intangible things that might not even show up on the scorebook, but it's gonna rally a team and make them strive to the highest degree, as long as they're not named the Dallas Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that losing Rondo was a huge loss for them, a huge one.
Yeah, because I like Schroeder, who's supposed to be replacing Rondo, but like, yes, he's an upgrade as a scorer. You can get him throughout the entire season and the playoffs. But he ain't got that defensive lockdown. He ain't about to orchestrate it in offense.
Schroeder's a good player, but you obviously saw him have an upgrade with Chris Paul last year, in terms of just like the little things. And you can make an argument in terms of leadership. Chris Paul is better than LeBron James. LeBron James just happens to be built like LeBron James. Chris Paul just happens to be built like Chris Paul, so he gets injured more often. You know what I mean? But you can easily make in terms of a leadership argument. You can make that argument. So I guess we'll see what Dennis Schroeder does for the team, but I don't think what he does best is what the Lakers need.
That's very fair. Oh yes. Also, what Boston is shipping off Hayward to Charlotte for what I think a pick, and apparently, and there's something I've seen like it's going to create some sort of massive trade exemption or something.
Yeah, like 25 mil. It's
almost
crazy.
Oh, the Pelicans also got Willie Hernandez as a center. He just signed today, and they signed that from Portland. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
He started a couple games in the playoffs. Big man, like kind of erratic. I can't remember his name. He was kind of erratic. He had like dreads or long braids. I don't know what they call him.
Winyan Gabriel. Yeah. Like real tall, skinny.
Yeah, they got him, and that just adds. They're trying to put big men up there. They're trying to load in on big men to surround Zion with that literally just for defensive purposes only. That's really what they're trying to do. In terms of what they're doing, that kind of makes sense, especially when they have enough scores. They score fast enough. They have good shooters. They score fast enough. Now they're trying to work on the other end. So for them, that makes sense.
Yeah. I do have a question though with that, right? Wasn't Jackson Hayes more or less supposed to be that guy, like who brings the defense?
Yeah, but he's really raw as a player, like really, really raw. So they're besides Steven Adams, who's here on like a 2-year deal. Here, like I'm there. Like Steven Adams on a 2-year deal. Everybody else is on like on a 1. So they're just trying to make Jackson Hayes grow a bit more before they put too much on him, because he's not everybody else. You know what I mean? He's not Alonzo. He's not a Brandon Ingram. He's not a Zion Williams. He's not even a Josh Hart. And sorry, Josh Hart's so trash.
Most of the guys are older than him. So.
Yeah, he's just a really raw player. So they're trying to just hone him a bit more before they put all that pressure on him.
Okay.
All right. If that is the wrap up, I just want to shout out a couple freshmen who did really good in their opening debuts. One, Jalen Suggs, that 24 against Kansas, bruh, that is incredible. Your opening points are a dunk on one of the best perimeter guards in all of the NCAA. I am extremely impressed. Jalen Johnson put up really big numbers after being injured his senior year, proving that he's still a dude. DJ Stewart, who's backcourt, front court bait, whatever you want to call it, 24-9. Cade Cunningham, big 6'7" guard, and really watched a lot of his games, but averaging 20.
Call this man Big Sexy.
Oh, big 6'7", bro.
I was like, what you talking about, dog?
Nah, bro. But averaging 20 a game. He's just like a really outstanding talent. And once you see him, you're gonna get it. Yeah, that's my wrap up for the freshmen.
Oh,
and y'all gotta look up Josh Preston. Like he's the hot story in this early NCAA season. If y'all haven't heard about him, basically as a senior, he did not do well at all on varsity. Then he did a prep year, and they had him on the C team for the prep, but he made like a highlight reel of like
the kid at Colorado.
You said what?
That kid at Colorado?
No, Ohio.
Ohio? Okay, my bad.
And he has one of the funkiest, weirdest, most awful games to watch I've ever seen in my life, but it is so productive. It is a really funky, just if he, like literally listening to the story and watching him play, if he was not 6'4", 215 pounds, there would be no way he would play Division I basketball. But very interesting story, very interesting player. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Thanks for listening to another episode of Traveling Hooper.
Real quick. Hey, everybody watch out for my Christmas EP that's dropping in the middle of December. So be ready for that. Buy it up.
At least tell the people who you are, man. How you gonna cut me in the middle of my turn off speech and then just not even tell the people who you are?
Hopefully they just deep into it they know who I am.
No.
Philip Dixon.
They don't even know the name.
P Dizzle is my singing name. Just got a little something coming out, a little project, a little Christmas caroling EP coming down the road. Gonna drop middle of December, a couple weeks. So watch out for that because your boy got them pipes.
I'm so glad your computer went off at that time, Calvin.
Once again, I'm Calvin McGowan. If you're on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe. Listen to this wherever you listen to podcasts, I guess.
Yeah. I guess.
Aren't you supposed to
unprofessional?
I'm sorry, I don't know all this. I know.